So, good afternoon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. March 17th. Welcome to the Natural Resources and Open Spaces Subcommittee. Topic of the day is hunting and Sunday hunting. And before we begin, I want to talk about a couple of things. There are four essentially hunting bills. There is 1063, the one that has been worked on universally for the last 6 months. There's 186, Delegate Boucher's bill for natural resources bow hunting Sundays. HB 780, Wacomico County's Sunday hunting repeal, and then Delegate Rosenberg's 1324, which is the Sunday hunting for Baltimore City archery and hunting safety zones. And so I think, given these different bills, it would be appropriate to, one, Baltimore City not only supported uh, the 1063 bill, but they also supported Delegate Boucher's bill, and as well as coming in on their own bill. So I thought it was appropriate to put them in the larger bill where they need it. As you know, Baltimore City is undergoing their own deer management programs, and as since recently, as we talked about it, they have been working with the U.S. Fisheries and Wildlife Services about essentially, I think they're trying to shoot about 270 plus deer from different parks in the city. So I think we need to honor that request. I didn't know there was such interest. It was so it's perfect timing. So I'd asked Patrick to draw up an amendment that would add them to that, if we can bring that up.
Madam Chair, which amendment is that? Say it one more time.
Baltimore City.
Yep, on it. Sorry, Madam Chair, technical difficulties. Give me 1 second.
No problem. Take your time. And Patrick, can you go through that with us, please?
Well, this is 1063,
Yes.
which is the bill that does a number of things. Establishes a deer damage permit, which is similar to a deer management permit, but it doesn't have an agricultural component or requirement. And then the bill also puts some late afternoon, evening hours for firearms for the counties that have the time limits already under current law. Obviously, the ones that don't have the time limits don't need the extra hours. The bill further allows Sunday hunting for migratory game birds. I think the subcommittee is well aware of that provision. And then it also limits the migratory game birds, specifically for Canada geese, to specific hunters as an incentive to get involved in hunting. The specific hunters are juniors, seniors, apprentices, and students. And then, June 30 or July 1st, 2027, the bill repeals all of the local provisions dealing with Sunday hunting, all of the time limits, etc., and then puts that authority in the hands of the Department of Natural Resources to set the hunting seasons, including for Sundays well, they already do it for non-Sundays, but for Sunday hunting in regulation, and requires that those regulations allow at the minimum the existing Sunday hunting on June 30th, 2027. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your bill. And then the amendment that you're looking at here adds the Baltimore City bill into the Sunday hunting bill.
And specifically Delegate Rosenberg's.
Correct.
Any discussion? Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So have we adopted the amendments yet?
No.
Okay, can we speak a little bit about the part of taking out the times and essentially letting the agency control this via regulation? How do we feel about that? I feel a little weird about that.
So that's after the 3 years.
That's next year.
I'm sorry. What part are you speaking of? I'm sorry.
The one, and Patrick had just mentioned it. It essentially took all the limitations of about time out and essentially lets the agency control that via regulation. Patrick, can you elaborate on? Do we want to have him touch on that real quick?
Well, there's not much more to add, although the chair is right that that provision is sunsetted after a report in 3 years. But it goes into effect July 1st, 2027.
So we would repeal the time limitations, allow them to adopt limitations even beyond what are currently there, and then it just sunsets that authority after 3 years.
For Sunday. So, so just for clarifications, and I think this is where my mind has been opened up a bit. DNR regulates Monday through Saturday. Monday through Saturday. It's Sunday that has been the discussion, more or less, where it can be, where their hours are totally open on Sunday, where hours are divided on Sunday, where hours, and so really a lot of this is focused mainly about Sundays hunting. So essentially you would be giving them the authority to do on Sunday what they do Monday through Saturday.
Is everybody else comfortable with that?
That's the original bill. Yep.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Delegate Jacobs.
I need some clarification on.
So can we actually start over? I presented an amendment for Baltimore City, and I would actually like discussion on that before we go anywhere else. That's the one thing I did want to put out.
In the Baltimore City amendment is authorizes for the entire bow hunting season, Sunday hunting in Baltimore City. The amendment doesn't do it, but the bill also addresses the archery hunter safety zone, which is a different topic from Sunday hunting.
Right. So this is just about Baltimore City's desire for Sunday hunting for bow hunting season.
And we do have a delegation letter.
Sorry, Vice Chair Guyton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to clarify what you just said, I wasn't sure which way I heard it. I apologize. This is including the change in the safety zone or not including the change in the safety zone for archery in Baltimore City?
This amendment is just the Sunday hunting provisions of House Bill 1324.
Delegate Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with the amendment to only apply to Baltimore City, as the amendment is being presented to us, you indicated that you do have a letter of support from the city on this specific amendment. Is that correct, Madam Chair?
That is correct. It was actually of this bill, Delegate Rosenberg's 1324. The city also testified on 1063 as well as HB 186 in favor of.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it your intention to just discuss these bills?
We are discussing where need be. We can move amendments. And
I moved the Baltimore City amendment, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the Baltimore City amendment? All in favor of the Baltimore City amendment to 1063 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, amendment is passed. The next amendment that I want to talk about for discussion is Wacomico County, HB 780. Wacomico County is requesting a repeal of their Sunday hunting time restrictions. It would be for that county only. They have come in not only this year, but in years prior, having this request for that county. And so I feel like we should just honor their request, but I would like discussion on that.
To which days does it apply?
This is again Sunday. This is Sunday. So everything, Delegate Gramber, and I'm glad you're asking these questions because it's important to clarify. This is all generally about Sunday hunting. I just saw a hand up.
I think it was mine. I
sorry.
was just gonna say, I have no problem supporting this local bill.
Any other discussion regarding Wacomico County's desire to have their Sunday hunting time restrictions repealed?
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any discussion on Wacomico County?
Third.
Delegate Long?
I was joking. Third.
Oh. All in favor of the Wacomico County amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstention? Thank you so much. The next, thank you. The next thing I do want to have a quick discussion about is Montgomery County. And so generally, we've got two delegates from the same district on Montgomery County that essentially support the Sunday hunting provision, but strongly believe in Montgomery County that they believe the provision now that creates the shared Sundays, that they just want that shared Sunday, not 3 to dusk, and they would rather just keep the 10:30 a.m. provision for Montgomery County. And I would like to, we put forth an amendment to honor that local courtesy.
Second,
Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Second. Any discussion on the MoCo? Delegate Baker.
Yes, you said that this is only dealing with Montgomery County.
Montgomery County. So Montgomery County during the hearing, you
Okay.
saw Delegate Foley and Delegate Fraser Hidalgo ask about whether or not we understood about provisions made in the past, of which of course we did, but they believe, although we've had general discussions about this in the fall, that it seemed supportive of having a morning and then a late evening afternoon provision to share the Sunday. They felt strongly that Montgomery County would not support that provision at all to add the 3 to dusk provision. And so they have stated support for the bill if we would just keep their time at 10:30. I wanted to honor their request.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. There was a first and a second. All in favor of Montgomery County's 10:30 only provision signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. All right, now we're going to move to what is the most controversial part of this bill, and I do want to have a healthy discussion. I'm not afraid of having discussions, but I do, and I will say demand a respectful discussion about this. And so the other part of this is that we have gotten a few requests. There's a lot of talk about migratory waterfowl hunting. A lot of people support it. A good number of people are afraid of reducing the population should Sunday be added in Maryland, although there are limited Sundays. And so because I got a letter from essentially Kent County and stating that they would support the bill if waterfowl altogether was removed. I certainly respected that, but we have a equal amount of individuals or more who also have a desire to have waterfowl, migratory waterfowl hunting. And so I did create an amendment. Again, it is not have been voted on, but to remove Kent County from that provision. And so I'm ready to have a conversation about migratory waterfowl, and I would start with Delegate Jacobs.
Well, first of all, Madam Chair, Kent County didn't request to be removed.
I understand.
They were objecting to Sunday hunting. They had concerns with Sunday hunting. They did not ask to be removed, and I did not ask for Kent County to be removed.
That's fair.
So that came out of the air. I wouldn't say in a nice way, but I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I don't
But-
want my intentions to be
Well, no
Assumed.
one requested that amendment.
I did.
Well, I say you did, but the county didn't and I didn't, and I represent Kent County.
That's fair.
And there was no conversation. There was just an amendment drafted removing Kent County without any request from the county or the delegate representing the county to remove it. So let's just start with that.
Okay.
Secondly, there is an amendment from the Rural Caucus to remove migratory waterfowl.
Altogether.
I don't see a draft of that.
It is. It should be.
Well, I
you
have
should-
a copy of the amendment, but I don't have a reprint with migratory removed, like all the others.
that is correct. You don't, but it is in the file. And if this is a time for discussion, because this is the touchiest subject in this committee on this topic. And so it is here for discussion right here, right now, Delegate Jacobs.
That's right. And so now I want to get into some clarification.
But I
Is that
do,
it?
if I can just make one clarification, I'm looking at Kent County's letter that says that they do support it with the amendments, and the amendment is to remove migratory waterfowl from Sunday hunting and not necessarily Sunday hunting.
They sent a letter opposing Sunday migratory hunting. They did not ask to be removed as a county.
I understand that, but you stated earlier that it was Sunday hunting. They have a letter.
I'm sorry, Sunday migratory.
Yes, okay.
That is it. They do not want to be removed from Sunday deer hunting. And you should have gotten an email today.
I never removed them from Sunday hunting for deer hunting.
I know, but you did for migratory.
Yeah,
It's in this amendment, but they
Yes,
did not
that's-
ask to be, they did not ask to be removed.
understood, Delegate Jacobs.
You did this on your own.
I
The-
did, Delegate Jacobs.
The county didn't ask for it?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, may I have a moment, please?
Sure.
I think just out of respect to everyone on the phrase, everyone on the call right now, I do feel like it's getting a little heated. And we
No,
just
I don't think so, Madam
I
Vice Chair.
heard
I'm okay.
I heard some disparaging remarks that I interpreted about you from the delegate. And so I
Okay.
would like, as vice chair, to step in and ask that we just be careful about our language.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Delegate Jacobs.
Well, it's going to be a respectful discussion. And if I said anything offensive, I apologize. I don't think I said anything offensive. But, it is a very emotional topic. And I like to, when we deal with these issues, I like to be right up on top and have everything out in the open. So I just want to say that the county, just to clarify, the county did not ask to be removed,
I understand.
correct?
That is correct.
And I did not ask for the county to be removed.
That is correct, Delegate Jacobs.
Okay, so now I want to go to clarification. When I asked this question in the hearing about when you talk about migratory game birds, what does that pertain to? Now, there's part of the bill that talks about geese for youth and Let me get to this. Junior hunters, senior hunters, apprentice hunters, full-time students. And so I think the only ones that are, it does not limit to just those hunters on Sundays for Canada geese. It removes the prohibitions on Sunday migratory bird hunting and says they must allow youth and seniors for Canada geese. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens with all the other migratory birds for all and all the other hunters on Sundays? I want to get clarification on this.
The limits, I'm looking through the bill now. The limits to Canada geese is for just as you said, for excuse me, apprentice hunters, students who are licensed, out-of-state students who are licensed, um, apprentice, senior hunters and junior hunters.
Yeah, I understand that, Patrick. I'm talking about this bill is more than just Canada geese. That's what I'm getting at.
It is.
If Assistant Secretary Badito want to call.
I am, Madam Chair.
Can you clarify for Delegate Jacobs, please?
Sure. The way the bill is drafted, the department would have the authority to set the seasons and bag limits for other migratory game birds on Sunday, just as we do Monday through Saturday, with the sideboard input of the 27 jurisdictions in the Atlantic Flyway Council, including Canada and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services.
But in this bill, Assistant Secretary, there is more than just Canada geese for Sunday migratory. Is that true or not true?
That is true.
And so the only ones that are really limited to the Canada geese are the juniors, seniors, apprentice, and full-time students. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what is what is permitted for the rest of the people?
That would be adopted through our regulatory process, just as we do. We do this every other year for all of the seasons, for all of the species, through our public input process. We haven't presumed anything here and set those seasons. Again, Delegate, because we have to go back to the Flyway Council and those state and federal and provincial partners who work on developing those sideboards.
So getting back to the bill itself, and it talks about Sunday migratory game birds. Sunday migratory game birds are ducks, geese, brant, coots, mourning doves, rails, snipe, woodcock. And some of those seasons start in September. I just want to understand what this bill is encompassing, because it's a radical change from the norm. So are all those birds going to be in this bill?
Assistant Secretary.
Yeah, we would have the authority to set the season to include Sundays for those species. Again, subject to those federal and other state and provincial sideboards. I couldn't tell you whether we're going to have the brant season on a particular Sunday in 2030 when that becomes available. But 40 plus other jurisdictions have brant hunting on Sundays. I'll also add, Delegate, if I could, during the 6 months of discussion about this interim assignment, there was really no debate about, as it related to migratory game birds, there was really no debate or sort of opposition to all the other species in the suite of migratory game birds. This was all just about AP geese.
So how will, for instance, this bill affect mourning doves? If this bill passes, what will happen with mourning doves immediately? Would you be able to hunt those on Sundays?
We could, again, we'd have to go to the flyway. We would ultimately build in Sundays as part of the script for all of the species. Again, just like every other state and province. And we don't have, I guess we don't have any particular concerns as it relates to that because one, this is almost exclusively on private land. And two, the federal government is assuming we are using Sundays in our prescription already, if you will. They assume that harvest for Sundays is already part of our model. So there's no risk to over harvest in the, the integrated management that takes place today.
Okay. So look, and all the other species that I talked about and those seasons can start in September. Is there a thought of Sunday hunting for those as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we let public input drive us. None of us, that's not the pure science of what we do. That's definitely the social science of this. So as we gather on, input from the various stakeholders, and I'll tell you, just looking at the group here, everybody who's on your subcommittee call is an invitee to our meetings. We would let that input guide us. I think a good example, Delegate Jacobs, is we don't have a particular inclination toward when the Canada goose season ends as it relates to the migratory duck seasons. Hunter preference has historically driven us to end those two at the same time, at the end of January. So hunter preference helps guide that. But I see this as a process that would be part of our deliberative and frankly protracted regulatory framework.
Okay, Madam Chair, it's all the questions I have at this moment.
Okay, the floor is open to members to continue the conversation. So Vice Chair Guyton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a couple of questions. I just want to continue to verify because I don't have separate amendments here. I do have multiple reprints in front of me, but not individual amendments or one total reprint. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand. Have we discussed all of the amendments?
We have. We
Okay.
talked about the city
Okay.
amendment, the Wacomico County amendment, and the Macomb amendment.
Okay. It looks
But
like
here,
I've got 4.
I know.
Oh,
We
okay.
talked about it at the beginning. It's the migratory waterfowl,
Gotcha. Okay.
and
Okay.
that's what Delegate Jacobs was
Sure. Okay. I just wanted to make sure
passionate with
that I
me
have
about, saying he
all the
didn't ask for
amendment.
that.
All right. So there is so my question has to do with the section on deer management in let's see, on here it's page 2, line 13 and down. I just want to make sure that I'm interpreting this since there is no Sunday hunting in Baltimore County now at all. Would this be permitted in Baltimore County?
It shouldn't be.
Okay, there is no, could I get that from like and
Hold
not
on,
that I
I'm
don't.
sorry. Assistant Secretary Padilla.
Yeah, I just want to determine absolutely
Yeah,
that
thank you
if I
both.
have some of my neighbors planting deer candy, that they can't then shoot deer. Okay.
So, Madam Vice Chair, this already exists in every county in the state of Maryland. In 2008, I believe it was adopted that Sunday hunting can occur in every county, including Baltimore, Howard, and Prince George's, that don't allow Sunday hunting per se under the deer management permit provisions, which is not in here. That's in 10.4.15, but this is the way this is drafted, it amends 10.206.
Sure. But is this all the same language as the current deer management permit? Does that include ornamental landscaping and forest understory, that sort of, is that currently in law or is this added?
It is not, unless they're being monetized as a commercial crop.
When you say it is not currently in law, this is new
It's
language?
not current, correct. This
Okay.
expands the deer management permit provisions, but I want to stress a couple things. One, the people who own that land in your jurisdiction, they can be hunting there. In fact, I'm sure they're hunting there today.
Mhm.
They can be hunting Monday through Saturday for the 6 months deer season. This just gives them another tool, arguably a higher bar to get over with a sort of a prescription from us that ensures we know who they are and that it's part of a hotspot, a zone that has higher deer densities. So this would not be a statewide, every place that has 10 acres. It's going to be within that hotspot that we're going to map.
Okay.
But you already have deer management permits. You know,
Sure.
they're hunting year round in Baltimore County under the deer management permit provision. And there is no acreage requirement there. They could have 1 acre of strawberries and we could be giving them a permit.
Okay. So the landscaping, ornamental landscaping piece, however, is new. And that to me seems like it's catering to it's easy to plant plants that are resistant to deer. And so that is a part I have difficulty with, is giving
Well, Madam
permission
Vice
to people
Chair,
who-
that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that, I think that one of the reasons why it was expanded in that way is because people who otherwise aren't farmers are experiencing damage from deers, which is why, for instance, Baltimore City has called in folks because it's tearing up the parks generally. So,
Sure.
so
And yeah, I
that was the
understand
reason
this
for the
is
expansion, but I think what
right.
I
But this
heard you
is private
saying,
land, correct? We're talking
this is
about private land.
all private land.
Sure. So it wouldn't apply to parks. It applies to people
No,
like
the point,
me. May I? You may speak if you like. I
I'm
can.
sorry. The point I'm making is
Mhm.
that deer damage goes beyond farmland, which is why this was expanded. Again, we're also only talking about private land. If what I hear you are worried about is that somebody would apply for a permit to say somebody just ate some shrub that maybe they could just easily plant or replant, and they may quote unquote take advantage of the permit. I would argue that there are parameters in place that may speak to not just anybody getting a deer damage permit. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Madam Vice Chair. You're on mute.
Thank you for that interpretation. Reading the bill, I do interpret it differently, that it actually makes I mean, we can, just looking at the
Yeah.
language, and maybe that's not the intent of the
Okay.
language, but that is how I read the language. Especially, you remember in the hearing, and I am in one of those areas that would be mapped as problematic for deer, overpopulation of deer. I'm quite certain of that. I'm also surrounded by a state park. So yes, this would apply to my area. And I mean, my feelings about this are strong in that
Sure.
if I have a farm and they're destroying my farm, it's a very different situation than if I decide to plant daylilies and I know that that is candy for deer, right? So I just don't see that these things are analogous, landscaping and agricultural needs. And then my other question, and that's just my thoughts on that particular thing. My other question during the hearing was whether this 10 contiguous acres had to be owned by the same person. And I thought during the hearing that was something that was going to be addressed. I don't see any changes in the bill.
As in, you don't want it? I think it was stated that it is per parcel, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't read that in the bill either. So I just want to clarify whether we need language that clarifies that.
Well, it does say it applies to a single contiguous property of at least 10 acres.
And if I could, Madam Vice Chair, that's how we implement the deer management permit. We don't let them sort of string together land and hopscotch over private lands, et cetera, for other purposes where we're tracking acreage.
Okay, so for the definition of a single property, it would have to be owned by one person. It couldn't be a neighborhood association or something along those lines.
That's correct. Yep. Now,
Okay.
there are different permits that an HOA could get. For example, the Baltimore City permit is obviously not by an individual landowner, but by a jurisdiction.
Mhm. Okay. And then my final question on this portion was 24 to 25 yards of a department trail designated for equestrian use. Was there any conversation, I guess, to the sponsor of also prohibiting trails that have hikers and bikers on them, which are
So
also in
the
these plans?
Forest
Mhm.
Council actually gave us that suggestion,
Mhm.
that specific number.
That for equestrian use?
Those that acre, I mean that
Mhm.
the yards, they're the one who made that suggestion, and we added that in.
Sure. Yeah, and I wasn't questioning that part. My question was whether it would be possible to expand this from department trail designated for equestrian use to department trail designated for equestrian use and for hikers and cyclists.
Well, I
Which
think
also
it,
seem to be more in danger
yeah,
maybe than the horses.
I think it wasn't added because we're again talking about private property. Generally,
But then, so are these
what page are
trails?
you on?
This is still on page 2 in that same section, but on line 26, 27.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a department trail, then could it be on private property? And this is just something I maybe don't
Okay.
understand. Is
Hold
that
on.
sounds like it's public property.
If I could, Madam Vice Chair,
Go
or
ahead.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
This is actually this is an all new idea in Maryland. The concept is that if someone is using this permit, so again, we've immediately reduced this to a few hundred places statewide based on our current data. And that private landowner who has one of these permits happens to adjoin an existing public trail, then where that trail parallels that private land, they'd have to have this setback. That is all new. Um, you know, I don't think we have particular heartburn if it was, I can't speak to the, I guess, I'll just say from our perspective in terms of implementation, if it said recreational trail or DNR trail, that's fine. But as the subcommittee chair said, this came to us from the equestrian community, and we thought it was a reasonable accommodation.
And I think
Sure.
they don't mind. They don't mind if it's changed to just a very broad trail term versus a specific trail.
Okay, that is a very important point to me because that's what we
Okay.
have in my area. Do you feel comfortable, Deputy Secretary, that 25 yards from a trail with a bicycle and children walking with their parents, that is far enough away to be safe?
That's the number, the equestrian.
I'm just asking the Deputy Secretary if he feels like that's safe for walkers, hikers, children on their bikes, 25 yards.
You're on mute, Mr. Assistant Secretary.
Sorry. Currently, they could be right up against the trail, and that's been the case for, nearly 100 years in Maryland. We've never had a fatality between a hunter and a non-hunter. It's, we managed hunting on places with Baltimore County, right? Pretty Boy Reservoir, Lock
And
Raven
that's the area
Reservoir.
that I'm talking about. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I set that hunting program up 25 years ago, and the hikers and mountain bikers and the hunters all get along. We have very few complaints there, and they do it on Saturday, where arguably there's more traffic than even there would be on Sunday. So a 25-yard setback from someone's private land, because I think that's what we're trying to do is strike a balance. We're arguably telling that private landowner they can't use their own land because they happen to be a neighbor to public trails. So we're trying to thread that needle a little bit.
Right. I understand that. I think since you mentioned that we haven't changed these sort of laws for this particular issue in 100 years, it makes sense to me that when we do, if we're about to do that, that we actually look at data to determine what really is safe and not just what sort of sounds expedient to the equestrians or someone else. So I'd like to look into that a little bit more.
Okay, I think they pulled that from some legislation in Connecticut, but yeah, you're welcome to.
Great. Thank you.
Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate this conversation.
Absolutely.
So I just want to understand the sunset. So it's sunset section 3. Section 3 does a couple things. It repeals the broad or the specific Sunday hunting sections around the state, and it puts in place the authorization for the department to adopt regulations. So they would have that authority to adopt regulations, and after 3 years, that would sunset away.
Yes.
Okay. Do the regulations that they have adopted, those would stay in place? I want to be clear about that.
I'm
So
sorry.
if they lose
Go ahead.
if the authority to adopt regulations sunsets, what happens to the regulations that they have adopted?
They would no longer be valid.
So whatever regulations they have adopted during that time would be sunsetted, and we'd have time to reassess as a matter of policy what the regulations were and do we need to take further action.
Because they, right.
Okay. And
But they would provide a report to us before that time.
okay, fantastic. And the other section in lieu of section 3 that permits expanded Sunday hunting, that is not in section 3. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what's expanded Sunday hunting?
Well, the other provisions that would otherwise provide for Sunday hunting are not in section 3. I just want to make sure, like, as section 3 sunsets, having repealed this section of the code, where else in statute would provide that authority? Does that make sense?
If this sunsets without any further action by the General Assembly, it would go back to what is the current law.
Okay. Okay. During the time that the regulatory authority is in place, would DNR have full regulatory authority to determine days and times in that 3-year period?
Yes, just they do now for Monday through Saturday, and they would for Sunday for those 3 years.
3 years.
Okay. Okay. I think that's what I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? So I see the vice chair is going to work on
We have a delegate hand up.
oh, sorry, Delegate Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
So to make sure that I understand correctly, the passage of this bill or the adjustments made within this bill will have no effect on what Western Maryland, current laws that Western Maryland has to follow on hunting.
Delegate Baker, I'll read this provision right to you. The department shall adopt the regulations. This is the part that's going to be valid for 3 years to hunt on Sundays, any game, bird, or mammal. The regulations adopted under this subsection shall, at a minimum, allow Sunday hunting on the hours and days authorized for Sunday hunting by species, hunting season, and county on June 30th, 2027. So at whatever the regulations are, at a minimum, they have to have the same that is in effect.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So no, I would say no downgrading.
Correct.
Any other questions? Delegate Jacobs? No. All right.
Yeah, I got some.
Oh, good. Could
Yeah.
your screen move? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm trying to keep up with it.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to say was, this this discussion, these meetings we had this summer, about potential game bird hunting statewide, the consensus of that meeting was not everyone there in favor of this ad of Sunday migratory hunting. There were a lot of groups there,
Mm-hmm.
and
It was a mixed bag. Mm-hmm.
well, the second one wasn't even a mixed bag. It was about 4 people in favor of migratory, and the rest were not. The one that was at Sandy Point.
Mm-hmm.
The first meeting, I was under the understanding when I asked about it, when I drove out to Baltimore County, it was supposed to be about deer hunting and turkey hunting, and then the migratory came into it. But this discussion throughout these 2 public meetings was not a unified consensus by any means.
It's true.
So I want everybody to understand that, because there wasn't many of us there. I went to both those meetings. I think you were at both those meetings. And, a couple of the members that are no longer in the committee were at those meetings.
It's true.
But there was not a unified consensus in favor of this ad of Sunday migratory in this bill. I think that, the deer hunting portion of it was very clear what we were trying to do, but then this add-on of the migratory came there. So I hope that you're going to pay some attention to the amendment that was offered by the Rural Caucus.
Well, I do want to clarify too, is that the letter I sent did not specifically say deer hunting. It really addressed Sunday hunting. 67 bills since 2019 have come through the committee around Sunday hunting that we have not honored, regardless of the species, regardless of time, regardless of whether or not we were talking about migratory waterfowl. Every Sunday, every year, and we have not honored them. And so this was a way to get together to figure out how we figure out this Sunday hunting question. And so, it encompasses everything that we've talked about, whether it's time, whether it's species, whether it's region. And so, that's what the letter specified. And I know while deer is the kind of one of the biggest subjects, because if they're all over the place, it did not specify deer. So I just want to clarify that. And I remember from the first meeting, it was an uproar because DNR made the point that of their regulatory ability that they can do pretty much Monday through Saturday, but nothing per Sunday. And their first suggestion, which of course most people did not support, was just essentially giving them the same regulatory control for Sunday that they have Monday through Saturday. And most folks, again, did not want that. And so that's why we continued on that conversation. Delegate, go ahead, Delegate Jacobs.
In my first term, the Delegate Holmes and Delegate O'Donnell put a bill in for Sunday, statewide bill for Sunday deer hunting. And, they thought, heck, this makes good sense,
Sure.
We'll do the framework for the whole state. Well, that was about the most controversial thing ever struck the streets of Annapolis. It was kind of weird the way it all happened, but that's the point of this kind of law.
Mm-hmm.
It may take 67 bills because it is a patchwork.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many, there are counties that don't have any migratory hunting anyway, never going to have it,
Mm-hmm.
don't want it. There's others that want it. I mean, it's a patchwork. It's a mosaic, and that's the way it should be treated instead of a blanket law.
Well, to your point,
in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I think to your point, which is why, exactly to your point, which is why I think I put in a suggested amendment to remove Kent County, because I've got other counties who say they want it. And how do you manage a county that wants something versus a county that doesn't want something? And so, I mean, that's just something that we should think about.
But to get back to that conversation, neither Kent County nor the delegate representing Kent County requested that.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Delegate Grammer.
I just wanted to see if we're voting on this now or we're going to hold here.
I think we're going to still hold because we have to finish up this this conversation. And quite frankly, I have to just remind folks, not only watching, but the committee, is that I take nothing personal. And so I like having conversations. And so where other people may feel, you know, may feel uneasy, I tend not to, because it's a conversation and I know it's not personal, and it's never personal until you make it personal. And I don't feel like anybody has made anything personal. And so if folks are uncomfortable, I think you just say that you're uncomfortable, but I am very comfortable with having hard conversations. So I just want to put that out there.
Copy that.
So yeah, thank you, Delegate Grammer. We're going to still discuss this. Delegate Odom.
Yes, well, I just want to say that I'm happy to hear, I think I did hear that we're gonna hold this. Did I hear that?
Yes.
I'm actually totally, I won't say totally confused, but it's a very confusing topic to follow.
is.
Because we've got birds, we got deer, we got different classes of licenses, and I'm looking at the classes of licenses, and I'm wondering who is excluded, because you got juniors, you got seniors, you got apprentice hunters and full-time students who hold hunting. So I'm not.
Yeah, Delegate Odom, that was on purpose to limit for the folks who are kind of worried about too much hunting of the migratory waterfowl. It was then created to make it so it's a selected group of people that could be kind of like a test run of this. So you're right, though. It is a lot, and it's a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
And
So I just
Delegate
want-
Odom, you'll notice this is basically youth and seniors. So everyone in between would be a very large group.
Okay.
But no, thank you for being honest that this is a lot. It's a lot for me too, sometimes. And so I appreciate you making that suggestion. Is there any other thoughts or discussion before we potentially close out with just what's going to happen next? Okay. Per my notes, I have that the vice chair is going to work with Assistant Secretary Pedito about the language on page 2, line 24 through 27, so that the yards are essentially as they should be, maybe per some studies, and probably a broader term of trail, maybe it's a recreational or activity trail, so that she's comfortable with that. And then we'll continue to have the discussion about migratory waterfowl, because I do have to be honest, it's a hard conversation, because you got a lot of people who are for it and just as many against it. And I don't think anybody's going to be happy. And I think the thought was in its limiting capacity that people would be okay with it, but somewhat to Delegate Jacobs' point, if there are certain counties that don't want it, and they should say they don't want it, and they would also have that ability through the regulatory process to opt themselves out. The other is that I know that, I got a message today from Kent County stating that they still are in opposition generally to migratory waterfowl, regardless if the county themselves are just pulled out of it. But we do have to think about the balance that there are people who want this just as much as they don't. And so if folks want to think about how we move forward, again, thinking that in the interim work that the compromise was the limited amount of people to be hunting migratory waterfowl was a solution. If that's not it, I mean, we can come up with something else. But this got to be a middle of the road compromise, because I think one or the other just doesn't work. So, okay. Any other final thoughts, Delegate Jacobs?
If I could just say something about that.
Yes.
I don't know that the rest of the subcommittee knows that youth and veterans have 2 extra days per year now that the rest of the hunting community does not have. So they already have 2 days that the rest of the hunting community don't have. So
Okay.
just so you understand that, people that are not, understanding all the hunting regulations and whatnot, there are 2 days now that the rest of the hunting community does not have.
Thank you for that. Noted. Anything else for the good of the body? Well, hour of work, I think we did a great job. Thank you so much. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Be open. We're going to probably meet 1 or 2 times, one to wrap this up and another for like 4 bills to just push out. They're very easy. So look forward to seeing you at the end of the week.